Welcome to Queer Conversation. Today we are meeting Jane and Samantha from the Flying Bats Soccer Club. We are here today because the Flying Bats plus Soccer Pride Australia and Sydney Rangers putting together a tournament for Sydney WorldPride 2023. Can you tell us a little bit about this and how Flying Bats is involved with that?
So essentially it'll be a World Pride tournament. It's sponsored by the International Gay and Lesbian Football Association, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year and across 2023. So ourselves as a LGBTIQ+ women's football club here in Sydney, the Sydney Rangers, which is the gay men's and inclusive football club, and our umbrella organisation Pride Football Australia got together. We're thinking about ways we could celebrate at World Pride. All of us have travelled in the past internationally to various tournaments, be they out games, gay games, IGLFA tournaments, and thought it would be a really brilliant opportunity to bring it here to Australia, particularly to Sydney, as part of World Pride. It's a brilliant way to celebrate it. Inner West Council has been really generous in their support. They've given us the use of the Tempe Recreation Reserve, which is 6 fields, including a kind of quite brand new synthetic one that's pretty much world standard. We're hoping that quite a lot of local teams will come along. So not just ourselves, we've got 5 teams, but we've had interest from some of the people we play against. There's LGBTQI+ clubs in Melbourne, also in Brisbane. They're setting up. There's one in Perth, so that there's all that sort of local involvement. There's two tournaments essentially. There's a men's. All genders can register for the men's tournament, and then there's women's and non-binary tournament. That's for cis and trans women, for non-binary people who feel okay playing in that competition, that don't feel erased by that, because obviously we don't want to ever code non-binary people as women light or anything like that. They're non-binary people. People can choose where they feel most comfortable. There'll be a whole range of divisions, so there'll be more competitive divisions down to more social divisions, and then we should also have a masters competition for it's over 40s
is what we're targeting with that.
So there's sort of a bit of opportunity for almost anybody. Certainly as a club we have a whole range of abilities and experience, and I think that's really valuable for us as a community, and definitely something that we want to encourage at our World Pride tournament as well.
I think obviously the Bats attracts a lot of people who may never have kicked a football, because we are such a social club and sort of an entry point for the lesbian community for a lot of people. So we have players who take their football fairly seriously, but we also have people who are absolute beginners and are there for a good time. So it's really important that this tournament also reflects that. I think on the flip side of that, we've come across players that we play against in non-LGBTQI clubs, in normal, so to speak, clubs who are looking for a way into our community and have reached out to us and said, is there space for me somewhere to come and have a go and have a try, because they're really excited about the kind of atmosphere that we'll be creating with this tournament. So that's awesome to see as well. And there's going to be an opportunity for people to sign up as individual players, and we'll be able to help them sort of join a team or pull together teams for them, so that absolutely everybody is able to find a way to play wherever best they're suited.
Our ethos is about inclusion, and that's one of the ways we can do it, is by ensuring that no one's kind of left behind. If you want to be involved, we'll do what we can to get you involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think this tournament will benefit the LGBTQI+ community?
I think it's a brilliant example of visibility of queer people in sport at all levels. I think that's the main thing that it's going to do. It's going to show the local and international LGBTI community that they belong in sport, that there's a place for them, that they can succeed at sport, and that they don't have to be on the pitch. They can be having fun with all of the events around our WorldPride tournament. So if they want to come and support, we'll also have a series of parties. There'll be some women-specific events. We're planning a panel discussion mid-tournament on diversity and inclusion in sport. We'll have some, brilliant guest speakers there. I think it'll show the real diversity as well of the LGBTI plus community, that, WorldPride can sometimes kind of just look like a bunch of
Circuit parties.
Circuit parties, yeah, exactly. But it's really for the whole of the community, and I think that's actually one of the brilliant things about WorldPride is that it will take over the city, and it will be all sorts of different events. Like I think there's something like 30 different sports as well. So it's not just us with our tournament. There will be there's a swimming and water polo tournament that Sydney Stingers and the Wet Ones are organising. Harbour City Wrestling are doing an event. All of the different local sports organisations are getting involved, and we all kind of, oftentimes people participate in multiple sports or rotate through them in different years. So we kind of are quite like there's a bigger sport community as well. Queer Sports Alliance is doing their basketball and roller skating. They're kind of friends of ours, and they're kind of, they'll get involved with our things and we'll get involved with theirs. So I think it is a way, it's first and foremost for the LGBTI community, but I think then it will show, the rest of the community how much fun we are.
Yes.
And I think particularly, with our tournament being based in the Inner West, as a community really prides itself on its diversity and inclusion. Like, we see ourselves as the progressive area, and that we should be leading on things like this. And, our council, the Inner West Council, has taken a leadership role on that. And you can see that, whether it's through things like their support for the Uluru Statement for the Heart, their support for refugee rights, their support for Addison Road Centre and the good work they do.
The swimming recently.
Yeah. The trans and gender diverse swim nights that they've been running that are just beautiful and make such a difference for people. That it really shows that we're this community that values people being able to be who they are unapologetically, and I think that's really, really great.
I'd like to dive in a little bit more about the flying bets right now. I mean, we can go back to the tournament, which we can talk about key dates and for registration and so on. But let's go back to flying bets and its massive history.
Our success is that we have grown and changed and reflected our community along the way. That, there's always new people coming in, and that kind of, people stay for ages, but also people come in new all the time. So there's a lot of renewal, and I think that there's a lot of goodwill and willingness to adapt to our changing communities. We were established back in 1985 by a group of lesbians who wanted, somewhere that they could be friends, that they could do something fun, that they didn't necessarily always be in the pub. And I think the joke was that Linda Patterson, who was one of the founders, kind of grabbed any lesbian she could in Camperdown who she knew, who was able to, be on the soccer field, whether they'd ever kicked a ball or not. And so they started this club. There's been trans people in the club for forever.
Wow.
It's not a new thing. There's always been folks. I think we've just made it more explicit as we've kind of over the last few years. But yeah, I think the club has, we've gone through that period where maybe people were more concerned about being visible, and that didn't necessarily, there was a time when it probably was a bit anxious about labelling itself as a lesbian club. And I think that we kind of through 90s, 2000s, that changed and we became very out and proud, and I think that's a good thing. I think that kind of continual renewal and change has been really, really positive. We did do a history project for our 30th anniversary. We were really lucky to have Charlene Robinson and Sarah Midgley. Charlene is a professional historian who kind of led that project for us, where we were able to do oral histories from players from the early days of the Bats, to really look at how the club was first started, how it became formalised, that it actually developed a committee structure and grew over time. So that's housed on our website, along with snippets from those oral history interviews. But the actual audio is also housed in the Australian Queer Archives, which is something we're quite proud of as well.
I think it speaks to what an awesome environment and community it is. I know that, like, speaking personally, it was so many of my strong and long-lasting friendships have been through the club, and there's been times where it's not been as easy to get to where I've moved away from sort of the inner west heartland, but I've been drawn back. There's no way that I'm leaving this club anytime soon, because it's a beautiful place. Like, people come with such open hearts and just so eager to sort of, have a good time and love football. So it is a very special place. I think there's been a lovely influx of younger people in the last couple of years, and it sort of ebbs and flows. I think quite commonly people who have come from Europe or the US and grown up playing football will migrate to Australia for work or other study or other purposes, and are looking for friendships and community, and find the Bats because of the football connection.
What's the process in joining the Flying Bats, and the season? How often do you play? Where do you play?
So we play in a standard league in the North West Sydney Football Association. So our winter season runs, the actual games run from April through to August. We had our grand final last weekend. We had 2 teams in 2 divisions in grand finals. We won one, we lost one.
Great day.
It was a great day.
Lots of gay and trans flags
at
lots
of side-bank support.
Awesome.
So essentially in terms of our calendar year, we open registrations early in January. Players register as standard through Football Australia's registration system, which in recent years has evolved to allow non-binary players to register as non-binary without that causing any issue. They don't have to misgender themselves as they had to do in the past, which is a big win. Big shout out to Football Australia for moving ahead on that. We then do grading through sort of February, and then we start our training kind of March. Yeah. This year, with all the wet weather, was very challenging. We didn't think we could have more challenges after COVID, but then climate change hit. We play April through to August. Then we have, again, something we've not been able to do for the last 2 years with COVID. Pride Football Australia has an annual tournament where clubs from Sydney and Melbourne, and now also from Brisbane and Perth, are getting involved. That's our Pride Football Australia tournament. We'll be competing in that in October 15th, down in Melbourne, in the Julie Murray Cup. Julie Murray, who's a Matilda's legend and Football Australia Hall of Famer, is our patron for that. We'll be taking on the Melbourne Rovers down there. So that kind of is our end of season sort of celebration. We have a little bit of a break, and then we have casual summer soccer drop-ins. So we have weekly sessions that anybody can come along with, and it runs usually from kind of late November through till we're doing grading in February the following year. And that allows players who maybe think they might want to join the Bats, aren't sure, to come along, meet some players, have a little run around. And it's been really a positive thing for us as a club, I think. Lets people, drop in and out as they want if they want to keep a bit of fitness and skills. One of the things one of our players, Kerry Fleur, always said about the Bats is that it's a safe place to fail. And by that she meant that, you don't have to be, our metrics are not that you're a brilliant soccer player. You can have an air swing and that's fine, but also kind of off the pitch that, people are going through a hard time, their Bat friends are there to kind of catch them and help them.
Anyone can register with any level of soccer skills. The website to register is flyingbats.com.au.
Not AU, theflyingbats.com, so that's us. We're also on Facebook, The Flying Bats, on Twitter and on Instagram again as The Flying Bats.
Your annual activity, which seems incredible, fantastic. And then you've taken on this tournament with Sydney WorldPride.
Yeah.
What are the deadlines here, and how can people register?
They'll open the registrations quite soon. They're just finalising some of the details. We'll, encourage our teams to definitely get involved, book their leave, because I'd be booking 2 weeks leave for the whole of WorldPride, because it's going to be
Epic.
Yeah. Also 2023 in Sydney, if you're a queer woman in particular, or just a queer person generally who loves football, you've got WorldPride, our tournament, and then later in the year you've got the Women's World Cup here, which is going to be enormous as well. It's going to be huge.
It's a massive year, seriously.
Yeah. Absolutely encourage individuals, if they want to be involved, to talk to us. We'll get you sorted. So there'll be Bats teams. There'll be friends of Bats. There's quite a few former Bats who are in different parts now of really excited to get involved. So
Disability. Are you catering for that?
One of the things that we've wanted to get off the ground, and we will get off the ground in 2023, is walking football, specifically aimed at older people who don't really want the full-onness of whether it's small-sided or full-sided football. But also I think that's really useful for people with disability, or for people, we have former players who, blown out knees and things like that. So they wouldn't see themselves as having a disability per se, but their bodies are not going to hold up for...
Well, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. And I'm, going to watch what's unfolding over the next few months, and really looking forward to see the tournament at Sydney WorldPride in February 2023.
Thanks very much. It'll be very fun.